Chapter 12, Into the Terrible Night. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all the cicadas stopped buzzing at once. They left such an emptiness in the air it hurt your ears. Around 4 o'clock we heard thunder. Maddie turned over the closed sign in the window and said, "Come on, I want you to smell this." She wanted Esperanza to come too, and surprisingly she agreed. I went upstairs to phone Edna and Mrs. Parsons, though I practically could have yelled to them across the park to say I'd be home later than usual. Edna said that was fine, just fine. The kids were no trouble, and we prepared to leave. At the last minute it turned out that Esteban could come too. He had the night off. The restaurant was closed for some unexpected family celebration. We all piled into the cab of Maddie's truck with Esperanza on Esteban's lap and me straddling the stick shift. The three of us had no idea where we were headed, or why, but the air had sparks in it. I felt as though I had a blind date with Destiny, and someone had heard a rumor that Destiny looked like Christopher Reeve. Maddie said that for the Indians who lived in this desert, who had lived here long before Tucson ever came along, today was New Year's Day. "What, July the 12th?" I asked, because that's what day it was, but Maddie said not necessarily. They celebrated on whatever day the summer's first rain fell. That began the new year. Everything started over then, she said. They planted their crops, the kids ran naked through the puddles while their mothers washed their clothes and blankets, and everything else they owned, and they all drank cactus fruit wine until they fell over from happiness. Even the animals and plants came alive again when the drought finally broke. "You'll see," Maddie said. "You'll feel the same way." Maddie turned onto a gravel road. We bounced through several stream beds with dry pebbled bottoms scorched white, and eventually pulled over on high ground about a mile or so out of town. We picked our way on foot through the brush to a spot near a grove of black-trunk mesquite trees on the very top of a hill. The whole Tucson Valley lay in front of us, resting in its cradle of mountains. The sloped desert plain that lay between us and the city was like a palm, stretched out for a fortune-teller to read, with its mounds and hillocks, its lifelines and heartlines of dry stream beds. A storm was coming up from the south, moving slowly. It looked something like a huge blue-gray shower curtain being drawn along by the hand of God. You could just barely see through it, enough to make out the silhouette of the mountains on the other side. From time to time, nervous white ribbons of lightning jumped between the mountain tops and the clouds. A cool breeze came up behind us, sending shivers along the spines of the mesquite trees. The birds were excited, flitting along the ground and perching on thin, wildly waving weed stalks. What still amazed me about the desert was all the life it had in it. Hillbilly that I was, I had come to Arizona expecting an endless sea of sand dunes. I had learned of deserts from old westerns and Crick-Draw McGraw cartoons, but this desert was nothing like that. There were bushes and trees and weeds here, exactly the same as anywhere else, except that the colors were different, and everything alive had thorns. Maddie told us the names of things, but the foreign words rolled right back out of my ears. I only remembered a few. The saguaros were the great, big, spiny ones, as tall as normal trees, but so skinny and person-like that you always had the feeling they were looking over your shoulder. Around their heads, at this time of year, they wore crowns of bright red fruits, split open like mouths, and the ocotillos were the dead-looking, thorny sticks that stuck up out of the ground in clusters, each one with a flaming orange spike of flower buds at its top. These looked to me like candles from hell. Maddie said all the things that looked dead were just dormant. As soon as the rains came, they would sprout leaves and grow. It happened so fast, she said, you could practically watch it. As the storm moved closer, it broke into hundreds of pieces, so that the rain fell here and there from the high clouds in long, curving gray plumes. It looked like maybe 50 or 60 fires scattered over the city, except that the tall, smoky columns were flowing in reverse, and if you looked closely you could see that in some places the rain didn't make it all the way to the ground. 3/4 of the way down from the sky, it just vanished into the dry air. Rays of sunlight streamed from between the clouds, like the Holy Ghost on the cover of one of Maddie's dead husband's magazines. Lightning hit somewhere nearby, and the thunder made Esperanza and me jump. It wasn't all that close, really, about 2 miles, according to Maddie. She counted the seconds between the lightning strike and the thunder. 5 seconds equaled 1 mile, she told us. One of the plumes of rain was moving toward us. We could see big drops splattering on the ground, and when it came closer, we could hear them as loud as pebbles on a window, coming fast. One minute we were dry, and then we were being pelted with cold raindrops. Then our wet shirts were clinging to our shoulders, and the rain was already on the other side of us. All four of us were jumping and gasping because of the way the sudden cold took our breath away. Matty was counting out loud between the lightning and the thunderclaps. 6, 7, boom. 4, 5, 6, boom. Esteban danced with Esperanza, and then with me, holding his handkerchief under his arm, and then twirling it high in the air. It was a flirtatious, marvelous dance with thunder for music. I remembered how he and I had once jumped almost naked into an icy stream together, how long ago that seemed, and how innocent, and now I was madly in love with him among other people. I couldn't stop laughing. I'd never felt so happy. That was when we smelled the rain. It was so strong it seemed like more than just a smell. When we stretched out our hands, we could practically feel it rising from the ground. I don't know how a person could ever describe that scent. It certainly wasn't sour, but it wasn't sweet either, not like a flower. Pungent is the word Esteban used. I would have said clean. To my mind, it was like nothing so much as a wonderfully clean, scrubbed pine floor. Matty explained that it was caused by the greasewood bushes, which she said produced a certain chemical when it rained. I asked her if anybody had ever thought to bottle it. It was so wonderful. She said no, but that if you paid attention you could even smell it in town. That you could always tell if it was raining in any part of the city. I wondered if the smell was really so great, or if it just seemed that way to us, because of what it meant. It was after sunset when we made our way back to the truck. The clouds had turned pink, and then blood red, and then suddenly it was dark. Fortunately, Matty, who was troubled by night blindness, had thought to bring a flashlight. The night was full of sounds, bird calls, a high quivery owl hoot, and something that sounded like sheep's baas, only 100 times louder. These would ring out from the distance and then startle us by answering right from under our feet. Matty said they were spadefoot toads. All that noise came from something no bigger than a quarter. I would never have believed it except that I had seen cicadas. So how's a toad get into the middle of the desert, I wanted to know. Does it rain toad frogs in Arizona? They're here all along, smarty, burrowed in the ground. They wait out the dry months kind of dead-like, just like everything else. And when the rain comes, they wake up and crawl out of the ground and start to holler. I was amazed. There seemed to be no end to the things that could be hiding, waiting it out, right where you thought you could see it all. Geez, I said, as one of them let out a squall next to my sneaker. Only 2 things are worth making so much noise about. Death and sex, Esteban said. He had the devil in him tonight. I remembered a dream about him from a few nights before, one that I had not until that minute known I'd had. A very detailed dream. I felt a flush crawling up my neck and was glad for the dusk. We were following Matty's voice to keep to the trail, concentrating on avoiding the embrace of spiny arms in the darkness. It's all one to a toad, Matty said. If it's not the one, it's the other. They don't have long to make hay in weather like this. We might not get another good rain for weeks. By morning there'll be eggs in every one of these puddles. In 2 days' time,